Learn the most empowering hiring techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with your host, Rick Gerard.
All right, so what if your people problems really aren't about performance, but about misalignment? Most companies hire for skills and hope the best, ignoring whether or not somebody actually fits the mission, vision, and values. And guess what? Even your highest performer can quietly derail the team if they're not aligned. The result? You're not leading the company, you're managing a bonfire. In this episode, we're cutting through the noise and getting to the real about what actually drives team success. When you prioritize alignment over ability, you stop hiring headaches and start building a business that runs without drama. I'm Rick Gerard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. We help entrepreneurs and executives win the strongest people. We do so by sharing insights from top performing rebel entrepreneurs, game changers, and industry leaders like our guest today, Miss Heidi Olson. Heidi is the founder and CEO of All-in-One Accounting. Now, inspired by her love of small business and drive to serve, Heidi has spent the last 20 years committed to guiding entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders from financial chaos to clarity and strategic insight, enabling them to scale their operations efficiently. Heidi firmly believes that entrepreneurs are the backbone of our economy, driving growth through ingenuity, boldness, and willingness to take risks. Amen, sister. I'm with you on that one. Her vision extends far beyond mere financial management. She and her team play a crucial role in increasing value, fueling innovation, and solving real world problems, making a substantial impact on society and the economy. Heidi learned the hard way that even your highest performers can quietly wreck your culture if they're out of sync with your mission, vision, and values, which is what makes Heidi the perfect expert for today's topic. Heidi, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Rick, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be on the Higher Power Radio Show and podcast.
And I'm happy to have you. It's funny, Heidi and I met originally about a year and a half ago at the EOS conference, correct?
Yeah.
And I kept bumping into her everywhere I was. It was kind of like we were in the same mindset. Cool. And I'm glad we had the opportunity to finally connect up, because we tried this a few times and we just haven't been able to connect. So let's talk about high performers, because this is something that I've experienced as a headhunter throughout my career, is that you can take an A player, you can put them in a company, and they can quickly become a C player, or they can be an A player and then everybody else can become a D player because they don't get along with, so there's so many dynamics that happen when you put a high performer into an organization. A lot of times what I've seen is you put a high performer into an organization where everybody else is not necessarily a high performer. And man, that just causes a whole bunch of problems.
Absolutely. What do they say? All ships rise together, right? Or all ships lower together. Like it's absolutely true that it impacts your whole culture.
Or they sing together too, right?
Right. Absolutely. Well, let me start by telling you a little story. So we are an EOS team. We've been on EOS for 13 years. It's been an amazing system for us, Entrepreneurial Operating System, for those of you who don't know what EOS stands for. But we were about 5 years into our EOS journey, and we were having so many people issues. So myself and my leadership team were constantly putting out fires with team members, with clients, and we really just paused and said, why is this happening? We're following the system, we're doing all the things, but the reality is we were not hiring to core values. And we realized that and made the change to hiring first to core values. And by hiring, I also mean hiring, promoting, reviewing, and firing to core values. Always starts with the hire. But once we instituted that, everything changed. But it was a very painful process for us as an organization, because we had to do a couple things. One, we had to look at our existing team and say, who is out of alignment with our core values? And when we did that, I realized that not only did we have a number of people that were out of alignment, but our highest revenue producer was out of core value alignment. And so as an entrepreneur, you know what that's like. You're like, okay, my highest revenue producer, he was a controller on the team. He was great with clients. He was technically super sound, but he was not a core value fit. So he was causing an immense amount of pain for us as a company. And so when we made this change, we decided that we were going to fire people that weren't core value alignment. And that not only was our team, but also our clients. And so in that first year, not only did we let go of 3 team members, we let go of about 12 clients that did not fit our core value alignment. And that was very scary as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I was going to say, gosh, that I've gone through that as well. I had a really high producing individual who was probably bringing in 2/3 of our revenue on my team. And, luckily it kind of just so happened that that person kind of naturally found her way out of the organization, but it was scary. I was terrified. I'm like, man, we're going to lose a whole bunch of revenue. The interesting thing was that our revenue, the following month, right after that person left, went up like 350%. And so like, we didn't even miss a step.
Yeah.
But
so
people were dancing in the office.
If you move people out, both clients and team members, you're going to replace them with the right people. And it just creates all of that traction, right, in your business. And it really does snowball. Better team members attract better team members. As I said earlier, all ships rise together. So I found that once we did that, just the quality of our team went up significantly, and A players want to work with A players. And so I think it's just that magnetism of like working with great people and having this amazing standard. So now when I do our welcome meetings with new team members, the first thing they say is this experience has been so great. And every step of the way, we talked about core values. Every interview we had, every person that I talked to, it always started with core values. And I think setting that stage for the team member is really impactful of how their life is going to be, what it's going to be like to work here, and if they're going to be a good fit. Yeah. And so it's been a great way for us to weed out people. It's been a great way for us to go after people, right, that are a good core value fit, because those are the people you want in your team, which is such a different, I think when you start your business, you hired a technical, right? Let's be honest. I was hiring great controllers and great accountants and great CFOs, but that didn't necessarily mean they were a good fit for all one accounting.
Yep.
And so getting past that technical second or third on the list of how we're going to hire and engage with team and making that really leading with that, I think it just sets the tone for this amazing culture that we've been able to build here.
What was the aha moment for you?
I think the aha moment was being in my office with my entire leadership team. And I think we were all crying, Rick, if I'm being honest. Like we were so frustrated by all of the fires we were putting out, and just like we couldn't understand why this was happening. I mean, we're hiring smart people. We're giving them the right tools. We're giving them the right support. And it just wasn't working. Clients weren't happy. Team members were quitting, and turnover just creates this awful cycle. And we just I think we had this moment where it was like, we have to figure out at the core of what's happening here and why is this happening? And that's the moment where we said, are we truly hiring to core values? And we weren't.
I can so relate to that. Are you listening to the Higher Power Radio Show? I'm your host, Rick Gerard. And for our podcast listeners, we're going to take a quick educational moment from our sponsors. All right, I'm digging in deeper with Heidi Olson. She's the founder and CEO of All-in-One Accounting. She just shared a little bit of her journey with us on kind of how she came to this conclusion that, hey, we really need to double down on hiring for core value alignment first. So let's talk about how you came up with this solution. Now, you guys run on EOS, so it was kind of a natural progression, right? For people who don't know what EOS is, can you give us a quick heads up on your view of it?
Yeah. So EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is based on a book, Traction, written by Gino Wickman. And it's a way to organize and run your business so that everyone is on the same page, growing in the same direction towards the same goals. So it really has taught us as a team how to properly communicate, properly grow, properly structure. Because, as leaders, we really are in charge of making sure that we keep the business simple, that we delegate, that we predict, that we systematize and structure. Those are like keeping the business as simple as possible for the team, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think as we have learned EOS, again, we've been on it for 13 years and we're still learning, we're still engaging with the tools. But it's a quarterly 90-day cycle. You reset your plans every 90 days. You have an annual plan, you have a 3-year picture, and you have a 10-year plan. And it is like an amazing way to structure the business and get everyone in that 90-day world that we live in, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know my love for entrepreneurs. I want everyone to have the EOS life, which is doing work that you love with people that you love, making an incredible impact, being compensated reasonably, and having time for other interests. I can tell you that my EOS clients are living their best EOS life, and my clients who don't run on EOS are not, because you have to be very deliberative about it. And if you don't, your business runs you. It just does.
God, you know what? I remember my dad saying to me years ago, like, you either manage your business or your business is going to manage you. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it 100%, translates to this, right? So, and the core of it is core value alignment. That's actually a really powerful mechanism within EOS. So, how did you guys approach getting people aligned? Walk me through that kind of the process you went through to kind of fix this
Great
problem for you
question.
guys. Yeah.
So we had just started using the People Analyzer. So that's a quarterly tool where we rank everyone according to core values and GWC, which is, do you get your role? Do you want your role? And do you have the capacity to do your role? And those are things that we ask of our entire team.
I got to tell you, so many times people don't want the role. And we hire people because we have a need to put them in a spot. But in the interview process, it's really important to understand whether or not somebody really wants it. And if they don't really want it, don't hire them.
Yes, exactly. And I've found that not only in the hiring process, Rick, but every quarter that goes on, it is a team member's opportunity to say either they don't get it anymore, they don't want it, or they don't have the capacity. And we have seen this work so magically in our organization. Let me give you an example. We had our office support person who loved this company, but she came into her quarterly conversation a few years back and said, I don't want this role anymore because I want to go work for a nonprofit. Like, I love your company, I love what we stand for, but this is not the right fit for me. And so that allowed us to not only be planful about replacing her, but we actually helped her find a job, and we could work with her because we had such a strong trust relationship that we could have those conversations and make it a win for everybody. So that GWC is really powerful.
It is. I totally agree. That mechanism is kind of to be able to have those conversations with your employees, and actually even with people that you're thinking about hiring. To have those conversations, nobody has them, right? So that's, if you think about it, it's almost an extra form of compensation in a way, because you're giving somebody something that they won't get at one of your competitors.
Right. They're getting a voice.
Yeah.
About what they want.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. And just think about, I mean, you think back to your younger career. I think back to mine. I don't think anyone asked me anything about what I wanted or where, like, no one cared enough to ask or to have a way that they could do it systemically and make it work over time. And that's the beauty of EOS, is that the tools and the system are, you just continue to follow it, you lean into the tools, and they work. So one of the things that we did, Rick, that was really interesting as we started to do the People Analyzer, which again is ranking people according to core values and GWC, is that when we ask them and we sit down with their quarterly conversations, it has led to so many amazing outcomes. And one of the things that our team asked us for is like, well, what does it mean if we're out of alignment? So we actually developed a misalignment document that we use with our team and our clients that says, this is what alignment looks like, and this is what it looks like if you're out of alignment. So we gave them really specific examples of what that looks like. And that really kind of solved the mystery for the team about what would it look like if I was out of alignment.
Now, is it drilled down to the behaviors and how they, or is it like, what does it drill down to?
Yeah. So for example, one of our core values is teamwork. And if you are out of alignment, that means you're not showing up for meetings, you're not coming prepared, you're letting your team down, you're not showing up on time, like all the things that make a team highly productive and cohesive and trusting. Anything that would not fall in that category of the things that I just mentioned would mean you're out of alignment with teamwork.
Got it. But teamwork in your company probably means something different than teamwork in another company. I mean, there's varying degrees of these things, right? So like it's important to understand. So you have broken down, like you are not showing up to meetings on time, you're not prepared, right?
Or
What
you're
are
not
some
getting
other?
your to-dos done, right? So we run everything on a EOS level 10 format. If you
Yeah,
come in and you're consistently not getting your to-dos done, which are due in 7 days, that would be not showing up as a good teammate.
got it. Got it. So when you said to-dos, you have 7 days to complete those to-dos. If they're not to done in the next 7 days, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I really love about EOS is the fact that it really builds accountability into it, and it takes away your need to micromanage people,
Thank goodness.
right? I don't know if you struggle with it, but I struggle with it all the time. Like, hey, look at I want to make sure this is getting done,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
would say I'm really good about letting go of the vine, Rick. Where I struggle and dive back in is if something's not being done well, then I tend to get more involved, right? And I can
yeah,
feel myself like that's not happening well, so I'm going to get in there and and as a leader, I have to really fight that and just have clear accountability and systems that support what I'm expecting of my team.
I feel like that's a whole nother episode, which might be a therapeutic one, like just to understand, like, how do we get ourselves out of that mindset? Because you can relate to me, and I think any other entrepreneur, that in your brain it should be looking a certain way, but when things get delivered, and I've heard it said that expect about at best 80% of what the way you would do it.
Yep.
um God, I struggle with that so much.
Yeah. I actually think I can really let go of a lot. And I think I've had to, as I tell my leadership team, you're going to have a brand new job every 12 to 18 months. That's how fast we're growing. And so the job you got hired for, and I would say that this has been a big aha moment for us as an organization, Rick, because we're growing so quickly. The job description that you got hired to has likely changed to an absolutely new job description. And so we're getting better as an organization at saying, hey, Miss Controller, who's been with us 10 years, the job description you got hired to, it now looks like this. And we need to talk about if you still GWC to it because
Yeah.
it's a different role. And I think that's been a big light bulb moment for me as a leader, is that because we're growing so fast and like technology, I mean, the world is moving so fast that you really do have a new job every 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just is a small business. I think it's just the nature of a small business that you can't come into it with the mentality that, hey, look, I'm gonna do the same thing for my tenure at this company.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
Well, let me give you an example. A controller that we hired 10 years ago, I didn't have any expectations that they'd be a brand ambassador. Now I do, because of how much thought leadership plays a role and how the visibility of our company and how we all have to be out there really putting our expertise out for people
Yeah.
to see. That was not part of our hiring 10 years ago, but it is now. And so those people have had to come along and really engage with those things that are new.
And the ones that weren't able to do that, you had to let them go.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I would say this is particularly interesting as we think about AI and automation, Rick, because a couple of years ago, I said, this is where we're going from an AI automation standpoint. Is there anyone on this team who isn't going to be able to make the leap? And we identified a handful of people, and we've since, helped them find different opportunities that better align with their skill sets.
That is so very true. So how have you been able to utilize AI in any sort of capacity for your people leadership, or actually maybe even hiring?
Yeah, that's a great question. So about 8 of us went through a course last year called Automate to Accelerate, and it was like an 8-week program. My friend Kellen Faulkner did it, who's amazing. You should have her on the show. She taught us how to use AI, and I'm telling you, it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was like so much information. She's brilliant, but we came out of it, and my first analysis is that we were saving 5 hours a week as a team. Now I think it's probably closer to 10 hours a week, because especially our internal teams, so talent, marketing, business development, all of our internal functions have really latched on to using a variety of AI, from Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, auto pen, like a bunch of things that we're all using. And now what we've done is made the focus on the delivery team. So now we're looking at tools and implementing the latest thing that we're implementing with the delivery team is a software called Zenit. And it's a cross between project management and automation of the whole accounting process. And it's going to be huge for our team to implement, to deliver more value to our clients.
Got it. But what about people? How are you utilizing it to either lead or hire?
Oh yeah, a lot. I would say that our talent department is one of the biggest areas that has benefited from it. So
Cool.
not only from like outreach and brand ambassador and all the things that we do to like be out to the world, but in her hiring practices, she has instituted a ton of things around all of our, core values, technical. She's been able to really leverage a lot of it to make that whole system more streamlined, more automated, and just downright more efficient, which is at the end of the day, what we want is more efficiency.
For sure. And, like the nature of today's market is it's really weird out there, right? Like there's a lot of people that are looking for jobs. There's also a lot of bots out there. We recently came off a project with one of our clients where we were getting, we have a specific way of doing job postings where we have a call to action. If people don't respond to those, then we don't interview them. So it's a really easy filtration system. We actually built a job description builder that kind of builds out performance metrics and then essentially has a really strong call to action. If people don't follow those directions, I have the theory that like people are going to put the same amount of effort into their job as they do their job search.
Absolutely.
And so they're not really people that are going to do well within my organization. But we did have people that actually did the exercise and responded. But then when they showed up, they were not who they claimed to be. Mm-hmm. And you could hear it like they were essentially like people interviewing around them and they were just trying to get jobs. And it was really interesting to see that there's a business that's springing out of this.
Yeah.
Essentially, they were using AI to hack the interview questions. So
wow.
like they were using AI. Like you could totally tell the person was not in the US, but they claimed that they were in like some random place like Sandusky, Ohio, right? And I'm like, how's the weather there? And I Googled it and it showed up and they just did the same thing and it just gave them the weather. So it was really interesting.
Against all of that. I mean, one of the things that we do is we really try to reach out and find people that really aren't looking for a job. We feel like those are the best hires we can find. And so I know that Crystal and Sarah have been leveraging a lot of automation and AI to try to get to the right people, right? People that aren't necessarily responding to ads, but people that are gainfully employed right now. So we're out there really scraping and really trying to find people. And we've also learned that sometimes it takes years, right? You might plant with someone today and they come on board in 2 or 3 years. And so that's starting to show up some real results now from the efforts of a couple of years ago. And so that's really exciting.
That is, to me, and it's always been the gold. Like that's where the gold, the veins of gold always lie, is in what I like to call proactive recruiting, right? Like reaching out to people, having conversations with people when you're not even hiring, but just understanding if sometime down the road they might be positioned well for your organization. That's golden, because when you do reach out and you do have something that's available, they're going to take your call because they know who you are.
Absolutely. The other thing we've done, Rick, is that we do an amazing job of identifying high potential leaders and getting them into this, getting them on our team and then watching them shine. So let me just give you an example. My leadership team. So Becky Lewis, my partner, has been with me for 14 years. She started as a CFO. Jennifer LaPlante, who's our executive VP of operations, I've known for 17 years, worked with at our client. She's been here for 12 and she started as a controller and now she leads our whole operations department. Crystal Holmes started as our office manager. She now leads talent. She's been here for 7. So we are all about finding high potential, hardworking, driven entrepreneurs that want to make this their home. And so when we identify a high potential leader, Rick, I don't care if I have a spot for them or not, I want them on this team. and we're going to figure out what to do with them, because high potential people, man, they can do whatever you throw at them, and they just are problem solvers, and they work hard, and they get it. And so we really want those people who get it.
You know what? So to me, those are builders, right? Those are people who are, and they're rare. And I think you're right. When you have problems and you can throw those problems at them, and they builders relish in problems. Hey, here is something that we're having trouble with. What do you think?
Yeah.
You see their eyes light up, and they're like, "Give me more. All right, I'll take more of that." Right?
Absolutely. The other thing do a really good job at, Rick, is creating an environment for working moms, working parents, but like working moms can come here and do amazing work, but do it part-time and manage all their kid stuff, right? Like I always say, you don't have to miss anything when you work here. You don't have to miss a soccer game or a field trip or anything, but guess what? You can do your work whenever you want. And I'm not micromanaging you. As long as you get your work done, you're happy and the client's happy, don't miss anything of your kids. You don't have to. I have 4 kids, and I didn't miss anything of my kids, and they all played hockey. So there was a lot to go.
Wow. You know, that's a really good point. And I think that's another untapped market that people don't really tap into. There's a lot of high performing moms out there that like they could probably get 10 times more work done in half the time.
Exactly. They're good at time management. They're good at like dealing with everyone else's schedules and all. Yes, they're amazing. And we want all of them on our team.
For sure. Oh, shoot. Okay. So we're getting pretty close on time. Heidi, what would you say would be 2 or 3 key takeaways that you can give the audience so they can plug into their business today?
Yeah. I think my couple takeaways for the audience today are to hire, promote, fire, and review to core values. And by that, I mean the first conversation you have with the potential team member, really hitting home that you're hiring to core values and mission and vision, then technical, then all the other things, but having that woven into all of your hiring review processes, all those things. And as an entrepreneur, be willing to have the guts to make bold people moves, right? We have we have one bold people move every quarter on our plan. So it's like we want to make a big people move every quarter in this company.
So what do you mean by people move?
Hiring a high potential person that came out of nowhere, a promotion, putting someone on a plan to having identified who are the 2 people that are my backups if something goes wrong, like identifying the right people and starting to work with them, either to get them on the team or get them the right skill to keep them on this growth journey.
So to keep their capacity heading in the right direction.
Yes. 2 is utilize the people analyzer and the quarterly conversations and have those really meaningful conversations, asking the team member and their supervisor, do you align? And having the bar. So that's one thing you have to do is set the bar, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for core value alignment. And then always asking GWC. Like, I think that's so powerful.
So when you're asking people if they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it, and you're having those conversations, is this done monthly, quarterly, daily? Like where are you guys fitting this in?
We weave those into our quarterly conversations. So we're asking our team, what is working, what is not working? And then we do the people analyzer. How do they rank themselves? And then we specifically ask them in the meeting, do you get this role? Do you want this role? And do you have the capacity to do this role? Because again, as I mentioned earlier, their job might have changed. They might want to just be a controller and they don't want to do brand ambassador stuff. Well, then we have a problem, right? So as the job changes and we say, this is the new job, does this work for you?
And you know what? People will tell you too, if you ask them. A lot of times we just don't ask. And so people struggle. And then all of a sudden now in your mind, you're going, well, I gave this person this job, they should be able to do it, and they're not doing it. So I guess I got to get rid of them. And it is the wrong mindset to kind of start heading in that direction.
Well, and truly, I want people on this team to be happy and want to be here as much as I want them here. And so if that doesn't connect, like, let's help them find what they really want, what they're passionate about, because that's part of the equation, is helping our team get to their best life. And so how do we do that? It might not be here, and that's okay. Like, it's not about us, it's about the team and it's about the clients.
That is so very true. Heidi, thanks so much for your time investment today. And I want to welcome you to the Higher Power Radio community. Now, what would be the best way in which members of the audience can find you, connect up with your company, all that good stuff?
Yes, thank you so much. This has been fun. Well, they can always reach me directly at Heidi, which is HEIDE at allinoneaccounting.com. They can go to our website, which is www.allinoneaccounting.com. And let me just spell that. It's ALLINONE accounting, all spelled out, .com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in this week's episode of Higher Power. Quick thanks to our team, Brian Colburn, Andrea Ballin, and Ayla Gerard. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, review, and share. After all, this show's for you. We want to continue to bring you valuable content week after week. You can join the Higher Power Radio community at Higher, H-I-R-E, Power, P-O-W-E-R, radio, R-A-D-I-O.com, or you could drop me a quick email at rick@intertrue.ai. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power Radio. Catch our LinkedIn Live show every Tuesday at noon, or download the podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. We appreciate you joining us on Higher Power Radio with your guide to hiring success, Rick Gerard.